A very good day to the panel of lecturers and my beloved supervisor, Madam NORLELA Binti Ali. I am Darshini HARISANKARA from TESOL 2 SEM 8 will proudly present my research presentation entitled The Effectiveness of the D-Magical Slides Model for the Year 5 Pupils' Academic Performance in Learning English. Teachers are the key to the effective exploitation of ICT usage in education, which opens a brand new space of knowledge. Their roles are evolving from a giver of information to a facilitator of pupils' learning. According to McKinnon and crew in 2000, stated that teachers must prepare the use of technology within the classroom as technology usage continues to increase in the society. Learning English through ICT not only improves a pupil's motivation towards learning, but also reduces the teacher's job in making the lesson more meaningful. There is a need exists in Malaysia for examining the impacts of technology intervention on pupils' academic performance and also their attitude in learning English. It also helps to establish the differences between the pupils' academic performance and also attitude in technology integrated and non-technology integrated classrooms. This research will be done to fill up the gap in this field in which to find out how the usage of the D-Magical Slides model affect the Year 5 pupils' academic performance and attitude in learning English. This research also seeks to examine the relationship between the teacher's level of technology integration and also the pupils' attitude in learning English. And lastly, it also helps to describe the motivation level of the pupils to learn English through the interactive slides. As you can see, these were the objective of this research. And these were the research question for this research. And lastly, as you can see, these were the research hypothesis of this research. The significance of this research was that it may assist the policymakers in stressing the importance of using technologies such as interactive slides in teaching English. It also may help the teachers to examine the feasibility of using technologies such as interactive slides as a supplement in teaching English. And lastly, it also helps the pupils to learn English using the 21st century learning style, which is the integration of technology-based learning in their classroom. There were a few research that were closely related to the current research, which suggested different outcomes to determine the impact of using technology on pupils' performance in learning English. Firstly is the reflection of multimedia teaching by Yang and Rochun in 2011. They explained that multimedia teaching was one of the techniques to improve the pupils' academic needs and also to develop their language skills. They also found out that multimedia teaching makes the classroom more interesting and also lively, which can therefore stimulate people's interest in learning and also achieve a good teaching results. This previous research was similar to the current research, as the current researcher focuses only on interactive slides to study the impact of the Year 5 pupils' academic performance in learning English. Secondly, a research that was conducted in Russia by Raskin Maki in 2017 analyzed how the effect of technology intervention in teaching English. He found out that the pupils benefit with the use of technology in the classroom, especially in the areas of communication. This previous research was also related to the current research question, as the researcher wants to study the relationship between the teacher's level of technology integration and pupils' attitude in learning English. The third research that was conducted by Said in 2015 researched the utilization of PowerPoint presentation in teaching English compared to the traditional teaching method at the elementary level in Sudan. This research was similar to the current research because both the researchers used interactive slides as their technology integration. However, the findings in the past research shows a negative feedback. He found out that the teacher's lack of technology-based skills along with their attitude was not favorable for a technology-based learning environment. And lastly, by Abdallah in 2015, who examined the use of interactive whiteboard as the control group and also PowerPoint presentation in the treatment group to investigate the attitude of the English foreign language primary pupils. However, based on his research, the research shows a similar result, which is the mean differences in both the control and also experimental group was the same. Based on the research, it concluded that both the interactive whiteboard, which act as the modern approach, and also the PowerPoint presentation, which act as the technology integration approach, benefit the pupils in their own respective way. The current researcher wants to conduct a similar research as Abdallah in 2015 by replacing the interactive whiteboard with the normal whiteboard using the chalk and talk teaching approach to see whether the similar results will be yielded or not. As you can see, this research involved a quasi-experimental design which seeks to establish a cause-effect relationship between the independent and dependent variable. According to Johnson and Christensen in 2004 stated that the treatment group will be exposed to the independent variable, whereas the control group will not be exposed to the independent variable. The independent variable in this research was the integration of the D-magical slides model in the classroom, and the dependent variable was the pupils' academic performance in English pre-post test. The rationale for this research was that it helped to determine the differences and also the relationship between variables, whether they are related to one and another with no attempt to determine causation. This is because the basis of this research was to determine the impact of using the D-magical model slides on the Year 5 pupils' academic performance in learning English in SK Todjering. Thus, other types of research design were seen to be inappropriate. The total population for this research was 935 pupils, which consisted of 406 males and 529 females. The targeted sample involved 50 pupils from two different classrooms from the total population of Year 5 pupils in SK Todjering. The rationale for choosing this sample, according to Chakir et al. In 2009, was because children at this age are cusp of adolescence and have the ability to grab language skills. They also have the cognitive ability to gather information as well as formulate well-organized opinions and also thoughts. Therefore, this sample was considered to be appropriate to be used in this research. The instrument used for the data collection were the pre-post test, teacher's survey, pupils survey, observation, teacher's interview, and lastly pupils interview. The reason for the researcher to conduct using so many instruments was to produce a valid and reliable result for this research. More details about this instrument will be discussed in the upcoming slides. As you can see, I've already put the research question that will be answered by each of the instruments. As discussed in the earlier section, the researcher determined to conduct this research using the quasi-experimental design. The research-related document, including the verification letter from the higher authorities from IPG-KDRI, was submitted to the school headmaster for the approval to conduct the research at SK Todjering. As the school does not stream the pupils based on their grades, the researcher believed that the two chosen Year 5 classes have the same level of proficiency in learning English. Before the intervention period takes place, a set of pre-test questions were given out to both the treatment and also control group. The intervention period was estimated to take about 10 weeks to be completed. For the treatment group, the researcher used the D-magical slides model to teach during the English lessons. Whereas for the control group, their English lessons were carried out with the traditional classroom method without the technology integration. The researcher will also observe the pupils' progress from both the groups for the 10 weeks of the intervention period. On the 4th week of the intervention period, the researcher gave out the teacher's survey, and on the 6th week, the pupils' survey was given out. The reason for exposing the pupils' survey after 6 weeks was to let the pupils themselves notice some changes in their learning style and also preferred learning tools. Not only that, the researcher also conducted a semi-structured face-to-face interview on the 8th week with the teachers and also pupils from both the groups. And finally, for the post-test questions that was given out after the intervention period had been conducted completely. The data collection procedure for the pre-post test is that the respondents from both the groups were given the same set of questions before and after the intervention period. All these questions were related to the Year 5 topic in accordance to the KSSR syllabus. For the observation, the researcher also observed and noted on the observation form to check on the pupils' progress, cooperation, and also attitude for the 10 weeks of the intervention period. And for the teacher's survey, it was adopted and modified from the original survey designed by Gulbahar and Guwen in 2008 that was considered to be suitable for this research. Most of the items in this survey was designed to analyze the relationship between the teacher's level of technology integration and pupils' attitude in learning English so that the items will be able to provide appropriate responses for the research question. The researcher posted this survey to the teachers through the Google form for them to answer. And for the pupils survey, it was adapted and modified from the original survey designed by Das and Misha in 2016. The items in this survey were designed to study the motivation level of pupils to learn English through the technology integration, so that the items will be able to provide appropriate responses for this research question. This survey was given in a paper form as the researcher felt that the students might not have enough knowledge to answer using the Google form. And lastly, for the interview session, they were conducted after the school hours and estimated to take around 5 to 10 minutes for each interview chosen. This interview section helped the researcher to confirm on the findings on the relationship between the teacher's level of technology integration and pupils' attitude in learning English. For the data analysis procedure, the pre-post test scores and survey were analyzed step by step accordingly by using the SPSS version 21. For the pre-post test, the differences between post-test and pre-test was calculated for both the groups, and the data were analyzed using the statistic, descriptive, and Mind-Whitney-U test. For the survey, the researcher did reliability tests for both the surveys to find out the reliability of the total survey items. The researcher also analyzed the normality of the variables to confirm whether they are within the normal distribution that enables the parametric and also generalization processes to be performed later. Not only that, the level of variables was also calculated based on the mean to categorize them according to the range they stand. The variables were also compared with the demographic items using the independent sample t-test and ANOVA to find out whether the demographic items influences the variables or not. The researcher also used multiple linear regression to identify the influences of independent variables towards the dependent variable. And lastly, using the Pearson correlation analysis, the researcher tried to study the interrelationship between the variables and examine the influences of other variables towards the dependent variable. And for the interview session, a narrative analysis under inductive qualitative data analysis was collected. According to Rooker 2016, this type of inductive qualitative data helps to highlight the important aspect of the respondents' information given during the interview session that will be best resonate with the researcher, as well as highlight the critical points that has been found in the other areas of this research. And lastly, for the observation, based on the structure of the observation performed in this research, a deductive analysis was performed to analyze and interpret the collected data. In this research, the researcher built the observation form based on the pre-existing theories and concepts to be used as the predetermined framework to analyze this data. As the pre-existing theories and concept has been decided earlier, the researcher need to just map the connection in the data to categorize based on the pupils' responses that have been given during the class lesson. The researcher has came out with this theoretical framework because it allows the reader to conceptualize the study in broader contexts such as the field of knowledge. The theoretical framework of this research is grounded on Piaget's constructivism theory 2013, cognitive flexibility theory by Spiro et al. 1992, technology acceptance model by Davis 2003, and diffusion of innovation by Rogers 2003 with the frame of quasi-experimental design. This has guided the researcher to come up with this framework to evaluate the D-Magical Slides model in increasing the academic performance and also the positive attitudes of the Year 5 pupils in SK Tokjiring to learn English in a better way. From the research findings, it can be seen that the intervention carried out was effective in improving the pupils' English proficiency as it was fully supported by the data collected that has been well analyzed and interpreted. There was a tremendous improvement in the pupils' academic performance in learning English from the treatment group compared to the control group, as their mean differences in the treatment group was higher compared to the control group. It can be also concluded that the pupils show more positive attitude from the treatment group compared to the control group through the data collected from the pupil survey and also observation. Not only that, it is evident through the teacher survey that the pupil's attitude in learning English increases when the teacher increases a level of technology integration in the classroom. From the pupils' interview feedback, it showed that they also agreed interactive slides actually helped them to learn better, and it was also supported by the teachers who was interviewed for this research. Based on the pupil survey, it shows that pupils were well motivated to learn English through the interactive slides, and this statement was further agreed by both the teachers and pupils who was also interviewed for this research. This statement was also confirmed by the observation done by the researcher, as the treatment group experienced changes in behavior in the sense that they were more active and developed to be more responsive compared to the control group. The D-Magical Slides model was engaged seemed to be effective in improving the Year 5 pupils' English language proficiency. This statement was supported by Korn in 2015, who stated that technology-integrated classroom has become one of the main approaches for the children to learn in the 21st century teaching learning session. This finding evident that the treatment group, which received lessons using the D-Magical Slides model, shows a very favorable attitude towards learning in contrast to the control group, which received a regular teaching approach. This research finding harmonious with the previous studies, which verified the pupils' level of motivation, interest and anxiety embodied with the inclusive attitudes towards learning English. This concurs with what Ertel in 2003, Kotuba in 2009 and Washwa et al. In 2016 indicated that technology-assisted learning accelerates pupils' motivation and also boosts their attitudes towards learning. Based on Krashka in 2000, these findings also supported this research finding that pupils got motivated and enjoyed learning when technology was introduced in the classroom. Not only that, Liu in 2002 proved through his research that interactive slides-based lessons accelerate pupils' learning as it makes pupils more interested and engaged in the classroom for a longer period. Indeed, the D-Magical Slides model was believed to enhance the pupils' motivation and also social interaction in learning environment where people exchange knowledge by learning and making mistakes together. Besides, the interactive nature of these slides leads the pupils to be more attentive and able to understand the lesson more better. Walker in 2003 stated that interactive slides can actually lead the pupils to learn independently and also gain higher order thinking skill. Through the data collected, it was verified that the D-Magical Slides model used in this research increased the pupils' interest and also promote higher level of continual concentration in the treatment group due to the multimedia aspects and aid. These findings were also confirmed by Underwood in 2009, who highlighted the effectiveness of visual memory on the pupils' learning outcome to recall words better when they were matched with images and also videos. Meanwhile, now in 2010 also pointed out the multimedia aspects such as images and also graphics were more valuable to the pupils compared to the single medium glosses such as the whiteboard method. And lastly, Gaiscon in 2006 hinted that technology improved wide-ranging visualization of the content and also strengthened pupils' imagination and also creativity. Therefore, it can be concluded that the discussion of these findings of this research correlates with the previous works of research and can be declared as a reliable and also valid research findings. The research concluded that the interactive slides are efficacious in improving the pupils' academic performance and boosting their positive attitudes in learning English when it is used with clear-cut objective, well-designed tasks and also parallel to the appropriate pedagogy. The recommendation will be given based on the issue found in this research. The first issue is the limitation of demographic background, as the research was carried out in Escape Tochering, which was in between the rural and urban area of Kuala Nerus and only surrounded by Malay community. The future research is suggested to be conducted in urban area with multi-diverse culture and communities such as Kuala Lumpur or Penang to examine whether the similar results will be obtained or not. Moreover, this research was carried out with the Year 5 pupils only, so the results can be only generalized to them. Other researchers are recommended to replicate this research with same subject at different age group, not limiting to primary schools but also secondary schools. Besides, this research can be examined with either one or two specific language skills instead of all the 5 language skills in the future research. And lastly, this research was conducted between the traditional approach, which is the chalk and talk, and the technology-based approach, which is the interactive slides, seem to be unfair at a certain point. Therefore, future researchers are suggested to use a suitable modern approach to teach the control group, such as the past researcher Abdallah in 2015, to experiment the effectiveness of the technology-based teaching approach in the future research. And the second issue that was found in this research was not enough of training for the teachers on the use of technology. From the responses based on the teachers' survey and interviews, it was found out that the teachers did not attend any courses to conduct technologically integrated classroom, and also realized that they need to attend one to get the best outcome from their teaching. To achieve an effective teaching from the teachers, the government should introduce and spread this kind of courses to get the best outcome from the technology integrated classroom. Based on the aforementioned findings, the following implications are to be taken in account. Firstly, interactive slides help in improving the pupils' language skills. Therefore, teachers are invited to integrate interactive slides in teaching English to reach the similar results. Secondly, the findings of this research reveal that pupils, even the low achievers and also the passive one, adopt positive attitudes in learning English because of the interactive activities. Pupils are given space to work collaboratively and actively take part in discussion on what has been displayed through the interactive slides. Hence, teachers are requested to use interactive slides with pupils, especially the passive learners and those who show high motivation level in learning English. In conclusion, every part of this research has been detailedly explained in this presentation. Hopefully, the teaching learning process for the English language will now become more creative, innovative and exciting for the pupils to learn better in the future using the technology integration. That's all for me. Thank you.